I honestly can't remember how young I was at the time. Maybe I was 9 years old? I'm sure it was a single-digit age, therefore, this was early in my development, and like many others my age at the time, I was enraptured with Pokemon, specifically Pokemon Leaf Green. It wasn't my first Pokemon game, that was Pokemon Silver for the Game Boy Color, but it was the first where I made an active effort to beat it. Therefore, I learned more about what Pokemon was through this game, and I fell in love with it. Traveling across the lands of Kanto with my own personal family of superpowered animals was everything I didn't even know I wanted out of life at the time. One experience from this game that truly stuck with me was the utter joy I felt when I saw the hit points of my rival's Blastoise finally reach 0. I remember feeling so overjoyed and proud of myself that I ran to one of my family members, don't remember which, and I excitedly told him all about my victorious conquest of the Pokemon League. If you're not familiar with the game Pokemon Leaf Green, in it you have a rival who is going on the same journey as you, and they end up becoming your final challenge. And let me tell you, the amount of shit-talking this kid did for a Pokemon game was absolutely stellar, which made the moment when I finally beat him all the more gratifying. I understand that Pokemon has never really been a difficult game. The most difficulty you'll get from this series is having to sit through meticulous grind sessions for raising your Pokemon's level to be higher than your opponent's. But a big factor as to why I felt so proud, besides being an easy to impress kid, was the way that I played Pokemon. I honestly did not have the attention span to grind for experience points in the tall grass. Instead, whenever I would lose to a trainer, I would just go back and try again. I was the kid that kept demanding the salty runbacks from these NPCs, and whatever experience points I got to level up my Pokemon were earned through these battles alone. So I never really over-leveled to the point where I could sweep anything. I kept this strategy. Well, I can't really call it a strategy. It was more like just running into the same wall over and over again until I broke through it, all the way through the Elite Four. Again, for those of you who don't know, the Elite Four are supposed to be the 4 strongest trainers in the whole region, and thus were the final challenge for your journey as the protagonist. You had to face them consecutively, and if you lose at any point during this challenge, then you would have to start at the beginning all over again. And now that you already know how my 9-year-old galaxy brain self played this Pokemon game, I'm sure you can tell where this was going. I kept running back to the Elite Four and starting the whole process all over again until I finally won, and I became the Pokemon League champion. Nowadays, Pokemon games, including the older versions, are so easy because of the exploitable leveling system, but I still think back to this moment a lot and the emotions that came with that victory. The only reason why it felt so victorious was because of the amount of times I lost to this final challenge. The only reason why I lost so much was because I was too stubborn to grind up, which is a little ironic because I believe this was one of my most memorable early experiences with perseverance. The game presented me with the promise of becoming the ultimate Pokemon trainer as long as I could overcome this final challenge. I think the more obvious example of perseverance would have been to take time to grind for experience points, but my way definitely brought out more emotion because of all the L's I took. My victory against the Elite Four and my rival was definitely made sweeter for me as a child, knowing that I didn't give in to the plethora of losses that came before it. Now let me take you a little further into the timeline. I believe I was around 17 years old at this point. By now, I have become very well accustomed to video games and the perseverance needed to beat them. Video games are inherently designed to be a series of obstacles that you enjoy overcoming to reach the conclusion. By now, I've come to understand that integral aspect of video games. However, not every game ends with the credits. Some games offer secret challenges that await to be completed by the most adventurous and ambitious players. I am, of course, referring to secret bosses that have their own unique appeal to them to stand out from what the game's main content has to offer. In my experience, one of the most alluring secret bosses was none other than Sephiroth from Kingdom Hearts 2. Sephiroth in general is one hell of an iconic character in video games, and I'm sure fans of the original Final Fantasy VII were stoked to see this legend brought back to life with better polygons at the time. But I had no idea who Sephiroth was. This was my very first introduction to this character altogether. Nostalgia wasn't what made Sephiroth so alluring to me. It was how much of a powerhouse he was. I knew I wanted to beat this guy after this moment. This was one rude awakening to just how underprepared I was at the time. What follows after that first attack is one of the most difficult bosses this game has to offer. I was also completely entranced by his theme, One Winged Angel. The intensity of that song, coupled with Sephiroth's ferocious attacks, cemented this character as a god in my adolescent mind, and I wanted to be the one to take him down. There was absolutely no reason to fight this force of nature. You didn't need to beat Sephiroth to complete this story at all, but that didn't matter to me. I lost so many times to this man, but I was determined. I remember dedicating entire play sessions to learning his attack patterns and discovering my own route to victory. I remember spamming the reflect spell a lot for his magic attacks. I remember letting myself get knocked into the air to then retaliate and land a full air combo. I remember using Sora's solo Trinity limit to completely avoid Sephiroth's meteor attack. I came up with some of the weirdest strategies. But something that was firmly etched into my memory was the pure elation I felt when I finally beat him. This was the actual end of the game for me. Sephiroth was my personal final objective within Kingdom Hearts 2, and I felt incredibly fulfilled. As I reflect on it now, I believe what made this so fulfilling was that it was meant to be an extra challenge, something that the game presented to me simply for the opportunity of overcoming a grand foe. It wasn't an obstacle I had to surpass to reach the end. It was a challenge I sought out, for no other reason than the satisfaction of doing so. One more. Let me tell you about the ranked League of Legends experience. That is honestly the best word I can use to describe this game. An experience. It's simultaneously one of the most frustrating endeavors, but also an oddly satisfying one when you do win and see yourself climb the ladder. I remember during my earlier days of League that gold was like a holy pedestal that only elite players can reach. Which is funny because gold isn't even the best rank. For those of you who don't know, League of Legends ranking system is divided into 8 different tiers. It goes from Iron tier all the way up to Grandmaster, and gold sits right here as the 4th tier. As you can see, it is a literal ladder you climb up towards, and gold isn't even the highest tier. But for some reason, there was such a feeling of prestige to gold. It was like entering an exclusive club or something, and I wanted in. I remember me and my friends would select a day of the week to just focus on playing ranked, improving on our skills with different champions, and getting tilted off the face of the earth. It was a goal of ours for a while, so when I finally landed that last hit on the Nexus and saw my silver armor turn golden, I was hyped. It seemed like it was out of reach for the longest, but I finally broke through that ELO hell mindset, which is worthy of its own video to explain it entirely, and I was ready to enter an all-new terrifying region of competitiveness. However, achievements aren't permanent in League of Legends. Every year your rank is reset and the whole world has to duke it out again to get back to where they were, or achieve more within this new season than they did in the previous one. It may sound like a drag to have this upkeep, but I actually enjoy it. Not the solo queue experience, I have plenty of complaints about that, but rather the idea that you need to keep yourself sharp to maintain your rank, and the recognition that comes with it. According to op.gg, I reached gold in Season 7. That was roughly 4 years ago, so I was 21. I have significantly less time now than I did 4 years ago, but I still find the time to at the very least reach gold again each season. Which can seem strange, because why would I want to keep doing that when I've clearly already accomplished that goal? Furthermore, why is it that I then have such a feeling of disappointment when I see myself struggling to keep up with the other players? This is where I learned my lesson. These three seem like separate moments in what I guess is best described as my gaming history. But all three of these are actually connected. In fact, every gaming experience I've had is part of an interconnected timeline. But I chose these three because they are pretty memorable to me and are perfect for highlighting the development of something within me. That something is the need for competence. Competence refers to being able to do something successfully or efficiently. So when I say this is a need I have, I mean I engage with things that reassure myself that I am competent, that I have the capability of doing things successfully. You can track the progression of this within the three moments I shared with you. Each of those moments has the common theme of perseverance. I don't believe this is a surprise for you. Anyone that enjoys video games needs to possess a certain level of perseverance in order to fully enjoy it. However, each of them has its own distinguishing aspect. My rival in Pokemon was a challenge that was placed in front of me. Sephiroth was a challenge I sought out. Ranked League of Legends is a challenge I continued to engage in. When I look at these three moments by highlighting these aspects and my age when they happened, you can notice a progression. I went from having to persevere to wanting to persevere. The reason for that is I was satisfying my need for competence with each victory. Video games have always been a battleground where I can see the growth in my abilities and feel accomplished. I believe this is what draws me to games above any other reason. They reassure me that I am good at something, that I have talent. Whether having this need is a good thing or not is a discussion I engage with myself regularly, but is also one for another time. I believe this need is what has resonated with me. Gaming is an area where I feel in control of my world and see concrete results for the effort I put in. I can see the perseverance pay off, and that is such a beautiful feeling. It's a feeling that has contributed to the development of my never give up mentality. Considering that I've been playing since I was a child, this mentality has become such an integral part of my identity. To clarify, games themselves aren't an integral part of my identity, but rather the mentality they helped to foster in me at a young age. This never give up mentality has bled into everything else I do with my life. It's what got me good grades in high school, got me through college, and it's what's keeping me here on YouTube despite not earning a living from it. Yet! Subscribe now. I'm a very stubborn person. I don't like to give up easily unless I'm truly causing damage to myself or someone else. The reason why is because of that need for competence. In other words, I make my tasks personal. Whatever I accomplish and whatever I fail are seen as a reflection of my competence level, which, in turn, makes me all the more stubborn to succeed. This stubbornness is something I've always been proud of, but it is also something that has become my most difficult life lesson. There are moments in life where you need to recognize that you can't handle everything on your own. Moments where you need to slow yourself down and admit that you need a break or that you're not ready to tackle something. It has been one hell of a learning process to recognize that admitting defeat is not the same as admitting worthlessness. I want to clarify that this need for competence isn't something that can only be explained through video games. There are multi-layered influences beyond just video games that led me to develop this need. However, video games have always been that playground for me to observe this feeling in myself. It is a lot easier to be aware of the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that come with this need when I am in a personal and comfortable environment. Especially nowadays, since I'm more aware of this need for competence than I was in the past. This is the lesson I learned from video games. I learned about my need for competence, and I've been taking in all the good and bad that comes with that need ever since. Thank you so much for watching. I've been reflecting on this YouTube channel for the past couple of weeks, and while I love analyzing fictional characters and talking about psychology in a really fun way, I feel like what has been missing is a personal touch. Like, I don't feel as if I do a good job of letting you guys know about me as a person and the thoughts I have. For example, I don't even use my alias that much here. I call myself Nimbus on the internet, like, everywhere, except on this channel for some reason. Granted, I do kinda like it when you guys call me Champ, so either Nimbus or Champ works just fine when addressing me. But yeah, I just wanted to dedicate, some time to just talk about my thoughts on things. Hence, my classification for this type of video, head full thoughts only. I hope you've enjoyed listening to my thoughts. My social medias can be found in the description, as well as my Ko-fi account for if you want to make a one-time donation of any amount to support me directly. And as always, my people, thank you for watching.